Levinson. You're listening to Light On, Light Through, and this is episode 10. Every eye's a camera, every ear's a mic. I hope you all had a good holiday. We have a really good show for you today, including a recording by a new artist that's going to knock you out. But first, let's talk about mic and camera. It actually begins with a cell phone, which started out as a way of having conversations anywhere you and the person you wanted to talk to happened to be. Soon after that, cell phones allowed us to talk via text as well as voice. That was a very revolutionary thing because you could be sitting in a meeting somewhere and someone could be droning on about something that you had no interest in, but you could pretend that you were following the conversation even though you were having a completely separate conversation with your fingers. Soon after that, the cell phone gave us an inconspicuous camera in our hands. And then it was only a matter of time, and just a little time at that, that the cell phone would give us instant video on the go. And with that, the cell phone turned our eyes and ears into cameras and microphones, which, courtesy of YouTube and its siblings, can convey that video clip just about instantly every place in the world. Now that's good news, I think, for the most part. Aggressive police and security officers will start to think twice before they rough up a suspect or a person not to their liking. Or else they'll suffer seeing their aggression on YouTube and soon after that on CNN for the whole rest of the world to see. Racists like Michael Richards will be outed more quickly. Maybe they'll learn to at least keep their mouths shut. But the unblinking camera and the cupped ear will be out there for all of us. We should make no mistake about that. Maybe we have nothing to hide or be embarrassed about. Maybe it'll be okay for us if our faces and voices are potentially out there for all of the world to see and hear. Actually, some people, like me, like that. I seek it. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast. But of course, I seek it on my own terms, meaning I like being seen and heard when I think that's a good idea, not someone else's. And what about people who don't want to be tomorrow's postings on YouTube, who don't want their voices heard or their faces seen or their actions recorded and writ large on the sky in letters that circle the world? What about people who don't want to sign on to this kind of skywriting? Well, they'll be out of luck because we're living in a new world, a brand new world, in which every person we encounter, anyone who is in our vicinity, may be featuring us in a video clip. I think we're just going to have to get used to being potential stars in movies not of our making.
As YouTube is my witness, I'll never be off camera again.
But you know, one of the nice things about media is that they not only take and impose upon us, but they often give us unexpected gifts. So a few days ago, I got an email from Ebony Moore, who I didn't know. She started out by saying she had just been listening to the podcast I did a few weeks ago on Idris Elba. You may remember that one, The Stringer Without Bell. I meant The Wire Without Stringer, although The Stringer Without Bell isn't a bad title either. Anyway, Ebony did get it right, so that wasn't her mistake. And Ebony said she really enjoyed the podcast, so that's always a nice thing to hear. And she invited me to come by and look at her website. So a few hours later, it was already well into the early hours of the morning, I went over to her website. I was pretty sleepy, just expected to have a brief look around. And this is what I heard.
whenever you like to succeed. Though tested, you'll endure to shine and bleed. So shine on. This lifetime forever, whatever you endeavor, make it count. You gotta be more clever, stronger you than ever, make it count. This lifetime forever, whatever you endeavor, make it count. The devil cannot sever, we'll got this together, make it count.
Woo, that'll wake you up like dynamite. Now, it turns out Ebony Moore is a singer, songwriter, musician, writer, and actress. She even appeared as an extra on Law and Order back in 1998. Those were in the Jerry Orbach, Benjamin Bratt days. Her major influences are Bob Marley, Sade, and Lenny Kravitz. And I tell you what, I predict that that song, Make It Count, is going to be a #1 smash hit record. Oh yeah. And if you'd like to hear more of Ebony and in fact the whole cut of Make It Count, you can find it on www.isound.com/EbonyNC with a little underscore between the Ebony and the NC. So just going through that again, that's www.isound, that's ISOUND.com/Ebony, EBONY _NC, and it's well worth listening to. Couldn't resist. But now let's go from Renaissance lady Ebony Moore to Shaika, who sent me a very interesting comment in response to this Every Eye is a Camera, Every Ear is a Mic. I had posted this as a blog a few days ago on Twice Upon a Rhyme. And Shaika noted that in the past, in our basic reality, we were always a part of someone else's psychological movie that they endlessly played and replayed. What's new, Shaika noted, is that now some people with cell phones are at mechanical liberty, as she put it, to capture that psychological reality and share it with the rest of the world. So that's a very good point. You know, there's really very little new under the sun when you talk about basic human impulses. But what is new is the fact that with the cell phone and its connections to YouTube, we can take those dreams and impulses and almost instantly, if we're in the right place at the right time, trumpet them to the whole wide world. And speaking of cameras and trumpets and mics, we're now at the part of our podcast in which we close with a nice suite of promos from some really fine podcasts by other people that are out there. And the one that I always start with is by Mike, not microphone, but Mike of Mike Thinks. So you're going to hear that. And, of course, you're going to hear Jersey Todd and a promo for Heroes and Battlestar Galactica. We also have a couple of new promos, and there's one that I especially want to mention to you. It's a promo for the Sci-Fi Show. And the sci-fi in that sci-fi show is SCIPHI. That is, it's not short for science fiction. It's really short for science fiction and philosophy. And I will be on that show in a couple of weeks. The guy who does it, Jason, very, very bright show, really up on not only his science fiction, but also his philosophy. So I had a good time doing this. I hope you did too. I hope you enjoyed it. Come by and see me at lightonlightthrough.com anytime.
Check out the Mike Thinks podcast, www.mikethinks.com. News and current events with an opinion. The Mike Thinks podcast. It's the news you missed. www.mikethinks.com.
Are you a Battlestar Galactica fan? If you are, you need to check out the Combat Information Center. It's available at www.alanlight.com/galactica. That's www.alanlight.com/galactica. It's your one-stop source for all things Galactica.
Do you enjoy science fiction and fantasy literature?
Yeah.
Are you interested in trends within the publishing industry?
Sure.
Then you need to check out the Adventures in Sci-Fi Publishing podcast.
Really?
That's right. Early episodes feature interviews with Ray Bradbury, Paul Levinson, R.A. Salvador, and more. Go to www.adventuresinscifipublishing.blogspot.com.
Did you walk out of The Matrix and wonder if you're a battery in a jar? Did you walk out of Daredevil and wonder, what is it like to be a bat? Do you and your friends stay up at night debating good and evil in the Star Wars universe? Does the question of life, the universe, and everything intrigue you? Then open your mind and tune into The Sci-Fi Show, thescifishow.com. The podcast that examines science fiction, film, TV, and stories, and looks at the deeper questions behind them, and interviews with authors, philosophers, and others. So tune into The Sci-Fi Show, and that's Phi with a PH.
Sometimes questions are more powerful than answers. How is this happening? What are they? Why them and not others?
In a world where ordinary individuals
I was at a bar. I had a beer.
begin to discover their unique abilities.
I think I can fly.
10 people from across the nation will chronicle the events as they unfold,
I'm gonna be here.
guiding fans from all over the world deeper into the extraordinary lives of heroes. The Ninth, a Heroes Netcast. www.heroescast.com.
In a world full of hopelessness and despair, only two guys had the power to deliver the world from certain destruction. Nathan and Carlos are Podcast Pendulum, doing things only a small amount of podcasts had done before them. Only they can save the world. Watch it all unfold at podcastpendulum.podomatic.com.
Just one more book, please, sir.
Hi, I'm Mark.
I'm Andrea.
We do a podcast called Just One More Book.
A podcast about the children's books we love and why we love them.
Because we're crazy about kids' books.
This is the best.
3 times a week, we go to a coffee shop in our neighborhood and we bring a children's book that we love from our own collection.
We talk about why we love the book and how our daughters experience that book.
We interview authors and illustrators.
Hey, this is E.B. McHenry.
This is Lee Edward Fody.
Play listener-submitted reviews.
It's my favorite book.
Talk about how and where to find great books.
They were just so in love with this book.
Oh, yeah.
They were just hanging off every word.
And all the characters,
Oh,
too.
yeah.
You can find our podcast at justonemorebook.com.
I got him. Yes.
She blinded me with science.
The Mr. Science Show, your weekly prescription of popular science. We talk about the science you want to hear about in a social context. For more stories and for the podcast, check out MrScienceShow.com. I'm Mark West. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Science.
Embracing your creative side is a beautiful thing, and no one said you had to limit yourself. Each idea is a shining seed that can grow into something beautiful. I'm Phil Rossi. Join me on the Filling the Page podcast, where I explore creativity, short attention spans, and great hair. I'm a musician, a writer, and aspiring author. Tune in as I share my adventures trying to make time for all of it. Subscribe at fillingthepage.blogspot.com.
Have you been injured listening to average podcasts? Have you been the victim of pod faders? Have you been fraudulently induced to listen to a podcast that has substandard podsafe music and a really lame host? Then I urge you to subscribe to The Jersey Todd Show at www.jerseytoddshow.com. When another podcast is responsible for your podcasting injuries, we will work to provide you with the best podcast experience available. Jersey Todd is a real New Jersey lawyer, but has no desire to waste your time talking about the law.
Hey, this is Matthew Ebel, and I've been listening to
The Jersey Todd Show with Todd from Jersey.
And it's okay.
So if you're in an accident or injure yourself at work and you're injured really badly, you should call an ambulance. Chances are the ambulance driver is listening to The Jersey Todd Show. www.jerseytoddshow.com.